Welcome to Hockey Nights in Vegas, episode 64, brought to you by the Las Vegas Advisor, www.lasvegasadvisor.com. Your home for everything Las Vegas. If you need gambling tips, dining tips, entertainment tips, strip club tips, and just about any other tip that will help you on your journey to our fair city, go to the Las Vegas Advisor, www.lasvegasadvisor.com. And by Dr. John Pierce at Ageless Forever, www.agelessforever.net. If you want personalized medicine, not assembly line, knowing who you're going to see when you get to the office, knowing that your file is going to be read, and knowing that you're going to get the best possible care to be the best possible you, look up my good friend Dr. John Pierce at agelessforever.net. My name is Eddie Rivkin. I am joined as always by Chris Chapman of Fox Sports Las Vegas. Unfortunately, our dear friend Lindsey Brown is enjoying the snowfall in fabulous Minnesota. Fabulous, I say, Minnesota. And she's not going to join us for this episode, but she'll be back next week. Chap, we have a lot to talk about since the last episode. The homestand was a little bit bumpy, but we thought after a unusual performance against the Sabres, the ship sort of got righted, and we expected them to play much better against Ottawa, and they did. They gave them a good solid drubbing, 5-1 or 5-2 or something like that. Ottawa was never really in the game. And then the Golden Knights, embarked on or are embarking on a very difficult 3-game road trip. They started off in Carolina, and much as we thought the ship got righted against Ottawa, the Golden Knights probably hung up their worst performance of the season. They got their lunch money stolen. They got boat raced, dog walked, mollywomped, whatever it is you say when somebody gets their ass kicked. The Carolina Panthers, wrong sport. Carolina Hurricanes put a whooping on the Golden Knights on Tuesday night, 6-1. I don't know. It was just maybe they didn't normally get their 2 days in between a trip back east. They went Sunday, Tuesday, but something wasn't right. They gave up 3 power play goals in a game. They gave up 3 goals in a period for the second time. They were never, you don't even say they were going through the motions. They were just getting their ass kicked 200 feet by 80 feet. And I don't know, Chap. What do you what's the symptom? What's the cause? What happened?
Well, a couple things. My ears perked up when you said that I could get strip club tips at the Las Vegas Advisor. So that's certainly
I write that column, by the way.
That piqued my interest right away. How do I get that job? But look, the score against, well, we could talk about Buffalo, right? Because they were leading going into the third period, and they lost the game. There's no other way to describe it. Buffalo was better than them. I thought Buffalo played better than them. Alex Tuck has a goal and an assist in his return to T-Mobile. Zach Benson, who looks like he's about 12 years old, he scores a goal. Devin Levi was, I thought maybe he didn't quite get the credit he deserved for the performance that he put in, because he was really good early on, and the Golden Knights could have scored a couple of early goals and maybe put that thing away.
Yep.
Because obviously when this team scores first, you know what the track record is, except last night kind of derailed that a little bit. But, against Buffalo, they just weren't sharp at times, and the Sabres made them pay. Ottawa was more of what we expected. We expected a good bounce back game, a good, it's, what do they say? It's always about how you handle and the next game after these losses. And they did what you'd expect them to do. You mentioned the travel. They better get used to that, because coming up in January, they have a Saturday, Monday, where they play Pittsburgh at T-Mobile Arena, and then they head back east and play the Devils. So the Penguins on a Saturday, the Devils on a Monday. So they better get their act together in terms of that. But Carolina, look, I know you said the score was 6-1. It was academic. It doesn't matter. The two trash goals or garbage goals at the end of the game don't mean anything.
Let's say for clarity, the final score was 6-3. But the Golden Knights scored 2 goals in the last 3 minutes when there was nobody left in the stands. So,
yeah,
yes,
nobody
I'm
left on the
sorry,
ice in
people.
Carolina either.
Yeah. So 6-3, but really 6-1. Even Coach Cassidy said, I don't count the garbage goals. So
Yeah,
please, I'm sorry.
they only count if guys have clauses in their contract to hit if they hit a certain amount of points or goals. But last night it started I think the way we kind of expected it to start, right? The Golden Knights get that early goal. They get a second goal. They take a 2-0 lead in that game. And you're thinking, all right, they're cruising for Yuri Patera. They showed up tonight. Tampa gets that goal towards the end of the period to make it a little bit of a closer game. And then, the second period, it was a stretch where I don't know what the hell happened. I mean, it was certainly entertaining from a penalty and fights perspective. Lots of penalties assessed to the Golden Knights. But, in terms of play on the ice, they were every bit as good as the Tampa Bay Lightning, except for one stretch of the game. And unfortunately for them, in that stretch of the game, what did they give up? 4 goals. So
that was like super eerie, like a flashback to a certain other time where they gave up 4 goals in a relatively short period of time and ended up losing a game. It was weird. Though, I mean, they were dominating the game. They were outplaying them. Tampa gives up a lot of goals 5-on-5. The Golden Knights were scoring 5-on-5.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, you have a double deflection, bad bounce where the guy is sitting on the doorstep and it's a tap in. And then, like you said, the parade to the penalty box starts. Pietrangelo chips one out of play.
Mm-hmm.
And
he's good at that. I don't know if that's a skill you want to have, but he certainly has a propensity to put the puck out of play and get delay of game penalties. Paul Stastny was every time he went to the box, it was almost a guarantee that it was a slash. And with Pietrangelo, it seems like a large percentage of his penalties are of that variety where he just puts the puck out of play. And obviously it's not something you do on purpose, but
right.
it happened. Like, it's just bad luck that happens. So, but what's worrying to me, Eddie, is Monday or Tuesday night, they give up 3 power play goals. Last night, they give up 2 power play goals. The penalty kill hasn't been good on this road trip. And you've got one more opportunity to make it right. And look, this isn't an excuse by any stretch, but it is a fact. You have a team that's won 2 Stanley Cups in the last 4 years on this road trip. You have a team that was in the Stanley Cup final last year on this road trip. And, oh, by the way, Carolina, no pushover. They've been in the Eastern Conference final the last 2 seasons. So it's not exactly an easy stretch by any means for any team in this league. But you would hope that the Golden Knights would show at least a pulse on this road trip and come away with something. Look, that game on Saturday, tomorrow, is not going to be an easy game. Florida's had that game circled since June the 13th.
Since they saw the cup, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's that moment where you know what? We play these guys on December 23rd. We're going to kick their fucking teeth down their throat. And I expect Florida tomorrow to come out and play a very physical, a very calculated, a very rough, tough game tomorrow. And I think they're going to try to beat the Golden Knights up because they want revenge. They want some payback.
To me, there's a bunch of concerning things. The Golden Knights were 4th in the league in goal differential in the second period, some astronomical number, plus 34. They give up 3 in the second period against Carolina. They give up 4 against Florida. Like you said, where did the PK go? Now, this is going to sound a little bit homerish, but there have been a bunch of bad bounces. There has been a little bit of puck luck that's gone against them, but still something's wrong with the PK. And after last night's game, Coach Cassidy basically challenged not the physical performance, but the mentality, the drive of his best players to prevent the wheels from falling off. And you can't say it any other way. They had that game in hand, 2-0. They dominated big sections of the third period. They almost tied the game after they gave up the go-ahead goal with 1:13 left. They almost tied it up a couple of times. They dominated big stretches of that game. And if it wasn't for, I don't know if it's a brain fart or, they just couldn't put the plug back in the dam or whatever it was, that 5 minutes cost them 2 points in a game that was very winnable, where the Carolina game was never winnable at all.
Yeah. The Carolina game was never in doubt. I mean, they were out of that game early, and Carolina, again, second period, they came out, and we haven't mentioned long change in a long time. So
Right.
like, that's not anything that's even on my radar. Like, if that's where the fault lies, then that's bullshit, because they haven't had a problem with that. And as you mentioned, the second period, the Golden Knights have been a much better team.
Yeah.
So, I don't want to hear the long change, because that's nonsense. But, I think the Golden Knights are going to play better tomorrow. Look, this is a team that has a lot of pride, but it's going to be a really difficult environment. It's going to be a really tough game. It's the last game before Christmas. A lot of these guys, it's funny, because you had heard before they left, well, maybe you want to be on the road this week because you're not distracted by picking up family at the airport and all the stuff that goes along with the Christmas holiday and the Christmas break. But look, I mean, this is a stretch for the Golden Knights where they're going to play 4 games in a row on the road, including one after Christmas against the Anaheim Ducks on the first game back. And then you follow that up with a home game against the LA Kings, who, while they're 7 points behind you in the standings, they always play well when they come into this arena. So,
and they're the best road team in the NHL right now.
I mean, what do they have, 11 or 12 straight wins to start the season on the road? That's unheard of in this league. So, the Golden Knights, I'm not saying that there's something wrong. Look, as you mentioned, sometimes the puck bounces the other way, but those things even out, at least in my thought process, over the course of a season. And there were some stretches early on where the Golden Knights were maybe not the best team on a given night. I think of the Flyers game here at T-Mobile, where Philadelphia probably should have won that game, and the Golden Knights found the way to win. A couple bounces against the Flyers. That's one that speaks out to me. And then the game here against the Canadiens, where Montreal played a really good game in here. And Montreal's certainly a better team than I think I expected them to be, but the team that should not be on the same level as the Golden Knights. But they played a really good game when they came in here. So, it's just it's I'm not sure what the issue is. If it's just a loss of concentration for a few minutes, or if there is something wrong with the penalty kill. But to win tomorrow, the Golden Knights have to do some, and it's not like it's rocket science. You got to stay out of the box. Stay out of the fucking box.
Apparently so.
Because 5-on-5, I think, it's not like they've been outplayed on this road trip 5-on-5. Where they're losing these games is on the penalty kill.
The specialty teams. I think I have the stat written down here. Look at me writing down stats.
Holy shit.
15-1-3 when they score a power play goal, 6-5-2 when they don't. So that will add 1 to the don't, because they did score a power play goal last night and lost. So it'd be 15-2-3.
Yeah.
But I mean, those are pretty significant splits, and Butch talks about it all the time. Got to win the special teams battle. Got to win the special teams battle. And they haven't been winning it lately. The power plays look pretty good, but the PK has just basically, been submarined.
Well, look, you can't score 1 power play goal and then give up 2 on the kill, because you're already behind the 8 ball. You handicap yourself. So obviously, again, not rocket science, right? Like, I'm not telling people something that they don't know, but you got to win the special teams battle by not letting the other team score when you're on the penalty kill. Then I think the way I look at it, and look, obviously you always want to score power play goals, But my mindset is always, if you don't give up a goal on the kill, I feel like that's a win.
Sure.
It's always a win. And if you do that over the course of a game, like, I don't know what the numbers are, but I would imagine the Golden Knights have won a vast majority of games where they don't allow a goal on the kill.
Oh, I think that number is probably quite significant.
Probably like 75, 80% significant, Like, it's just and I would imagine that around the league that's a pretty significant number as well. But I mean, I think they'll come out and they'll play a much better game tomorrow. And I hate to shit all over the team because the sky is not falling. They've hit a rough patch, and this team has been through it. They have veterans in the locker room. I said to someone this morning, the only thing that really matters at this point, because Golden Knights 47 points, it's a foregone conclusion that they will be in the playoffs. I don't really think this team cares if they win the Pacific or not. They remind me a little bit of Tampa a couple years ago, coming off their cup victory. They ended up finishing third in the division and went back and won the Stanley Cup. Like, I don't think that this is a team where you need to worry about, oh my God, they're going to lose 8 of 12 or something like that. They'll figure it out. They'll fix what's not working right now. And the only thing that really matters, Eddie, is that they're healthy and playing their best hockey in the spring. That's all that matters. Win the division, finish third in the division. It really doesn't matter for this team.
Well, I'm wearing red today, and it could be for one of two reasons. One, I'm seeing red, or two, we have a red alert that we probably need to talk about. And God, I wish Lindsey was going to be here because we could just shut up and let her talk about it for about the next 8 minutes. But listen, Yuri Patera gave up 5 goals last night. Not one of them was a bad goal.
Yeah. Yep.
And Jesus, I'm worried. I feel like they might have rushed Logan Thompson, rushed Aiden Hill back, and he's on the shelf, and I think they put him on IR. And then we watched LT in the Ottawa game faking it till he made it to get out of the last 10 minutes of the third period, right? And now he's day-to-day. And some cat named Isaiah Seville got called up from Henderson, and they showed a picture of him on the broadcast last night, and it could have been his junior high ID card. And honest to God, the kid looks like he's 12.
Yeah, now Aiden Hill was placed on IR. Caden Korzak also on IR. Shea Theodore has been on
LTIR.
And then Thompson and Kolasar are both, from what we understand, day to day. Like
day.
Yeah. Like Kolasar didn't travel. So he's probably going to be, he's obviously out until at least the Anaheim game, maybe longer, who knows. Thompson, we know, is quote day to day, but the Ottawa game was concerning, because it looked like he took a knock, and you and I sit next to each other in the press box, and I don't think there was a person in that press box who thought that we weren't going to see the emergency backup goalie in that situation. Like, we all thought that it was going to happen. He labored through that one, and then now I'm just guessing here. It looked like a lower body injury. I mean, I don't think you need to be a doctor to see that he was having trouble getting up in that game. But now it's an upper body injury that he's dealing with that kept him out.
Yeah, different. 2 injuries.
Yeah. So we don't know what, if at all, there's any lingering effects of what happened in the Ottawa game. But we do know that there is a different injury that he is now dealing with. I'm with you. I think Aiden Hill maybe felt good enough to play. And here's the thing, Eddie. We don't know if the injury to Hill is the same injury that had him sidelined previous to the Ottawa game, or if it's a re-aggravation of the same injury, because obviously the league, which I still to this day think is bullshit, you have gambling partners in the league, and the fact that you don't disclose injury information, I think that fucks with the integrity of the game,
I know.
especially when you have gambling partners. There's money exchanging hands.
No.
And look, the sharp bettors and these insiders, they know what the injuries are, but the general public doesn't know.
Okay, but we're closer to the team than the Sharps, and we're certainly
Maybe,
closer to the team
maybe.
than the, okay, but listen, I'm gonna push back, and I'm gonna play the experience card that you don't have. If you tell if and I don't mean that with any
No, no, I
disrespect
know. No,
whatsoever.
I didn't.
But if I was in the locker room and they told me that their number one center had a bum right shoulder,
You're going
I was
after
going to go after the right shoulder all day, and they were going to. Not only was I going to go after it, they were going to tell me to go after it.
Yeah.
So failure to disclose. What?
The NFL, it's the same thing. I mean, I know if a guy's dealing with a leg injury, or if he's dealing with a bum wrist, or a shoulder injury.
I think the ability to target in the NHL is what separates the disclosure from from other leagues. I mean, when a guy goes down on the field in the NFL and two trainers pick him up and he's hobbling, it's a leg injury. You don't need to read the injury report, right? If a player
it's a lower body injury in the NHL, so my now I guess it really depends on what your definition is, but my definition of lower body would be from the pelvis down.
Yeah, well, that's what it is. It's waist down. So lower body is groin, thigh, hammy, knee, ankle, foot, and upper body is shoulder, elbow, wrist, abdominal, muscle
Neck.
strain, and bucket.
Yeah.
But no, I would push back and say you don't want to give that freebie information because listen, you've watched enough hockey in your life. They're good enough to target something and somewhere, right? And I'm not saying that the game's dirty that way, but if you don't take every advantage that you have trying to win a game, you're not really trying to win the game, right?
Yeah,
I don't know if it was
fair.
I mean, I don't know if somebody said, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
Yeah, well, that was, I think, Bobby the Brain Heenan who said that.
Oh, is that what?
Jesse the Body Ventura. I think that was Jesse the Body. What was his quote? Win if you can, lose if you must, but always cheat.
Well, I didn't know it was going there. I more thought it was a Yogi Berra thing, but but it's alarming, and I mean it that it's alarming with no disrespect whatsoever to Yuri Patera and Isaiah Seville. But they've got Florida, and then they've got the Ducks who are playing a little bit better, and then they've got the Kings, and then they've got the Winter Classic in front of 50,000 people in Seattle. Are they going to – Isaiah Seville's going to get a start if LT doesn't come back?
Well, what you hope for, obviously, if you're the Golden Knights, is that Logan Thompson is able to return after Christmas, and your hope is you play Patera against the Ducks, you send Seville back to Henderson, and then you have Logan Thompson for that game against the Kings. Then you have a couple days, and you start him in the Winter Classic. But look, we don't know how long Logan Thompson is going to be sidelined. I mean, day-to-day could mean anything. Day-to-day could mean one day in 2 weeks. It could be Wednesday. I think
it's very nebulous.
So look, I'm excited for these young kids to have an opportunity. I think if you were the Golden Knights, you kind of would have wished that this opportunity would have come further down the road. This is a really tough stretch of games, but for Patera, you're right. He played well against San Jose earlier this year. One goal, I think, was probably on him, but the other 4 goals or 3 goals that they gave up, it's hard to really blame him. Look, 6-on-5 goal wasn't anything he could have done. 1 goal, 1 puck went in off of Korzak's skate, I think, on a power play. So, he played well in that game, and he played well in the 2 games we saw him last year. I don't think he played terrible last night, despite what the numbers.
No, he didn't play terrible. No. For a guy who gave up 5 on 35 or something like that.
He probably played well enough to win the game.
He did, and with with the exception of that 5 minutes. So did the Golden Knights.
Yeah.
But
Look,
going forward,
a goalie is only going to be as good as the team in front of him is. And if the team doesn't play well and they give up big chances, goalies are going to give up goals. I mean, it's just the way it is.
I'm having flashbacks to Marc-Andre Fleury, Malcolm Subban,
Manny Lagasse,
Manny Legacy, Carlson's friend.
Oh yeah, Oscar Dansk, who got the first shutout in team history, and then
Ferguson, Ferguson.
Yeah,
right?
Dylan Ferguson. Yeah,
but
who was?
I
think Dylan Ferguson was playing juniors in Kamloops when he was called up for that game against Edmonton.
But I got to tell you, and I'm not a sky is falling guy at all, but this is enormously concerning. And Lindsey talked about it when, Adin Hill went off after he gave up that goal and he just shook his head no and skated right down the tunnel. And Lindsey was like, this is really bad. They rushed him back or he wasn't ready to come back, but this could be, listen, Adin Hill, he doesn't have a history of playing 40 or 50 games in the NHL, not even close. So this is, I don't know. They don't even have a fifth goalie this year that we know about.
No Michael Hutchinson, who didn't play, but I think he was on the bench for a game or two last season before
he just signed in Detroit.
Yeah. So look, I'm not.
Not Detroit. Oh yeah, Detroit, because they were in Winnipeg. Yeah, he's still around, but dude, this is a bad cocktail right now. Bad power play, not defending the zone, and Seville with 0 starts. Patera now has 5, I think, 4 in a relief appearance.
Yeah, 4 starts, and he came in relief the other night.
It's lovely that their goaltending salary cap is $1.5 million right now.
Yeah.
But still, Adin Hill's your $5 million guy. I don't want to call into question the decision of the medical team and the decision and what information may have been transmitted to Sean Burke, because Butch says he doesn't talk to the goalies very much at all.
Yeah, Butch's comment after the game on Sunday where Berkey had him go through some drills and he felt comfortable. And he also said if he was good enough to be on the bench, then he was good enough to play, which is what the decision went into him starting against Ottawa on Sunday night was. So, I think the biggest question mark here is, and we'll never know, but it's what I brought up earlier. Is it a new injury or did he re-aggravate the same injury? If he re-aggravated the same injury, I think there's certainly reason to wonder what went into the decision for him.
We're talking about Adin Hill.
Adin Hill. What if it's the same injury? Then there certainly is reason to at least wonder why he was in net on Sunday night. But if it's something different, both him and Logan have never played a full season. So and I understand goalies get hurt, but it's a situation that I think when you look at the history, and some of it's bad luck, but it seems like recently the Golden Knights have had a stretch over the last couple of years where a lot of goalies, we can add Robin Leonard to the list.
Sure.
Where they're banged up. And, I understand with Robin Leonard, he was playing with something since he was young. I don't know if Robin Leonard is ever going to play in the NHL again. Like at this point, he's now missed 2 full seasons, or he's on the verge of missing 2 full seasons. We don't know. I shouldn't speculate, but it's something that's in my mind that we may never see him play in the NHL ever again. But, I guess from my perspective, I'm not overly concerned about whether or not they'll win games with Patera and Seville if they're forced to. I think this
Okay.
team,
On a scale of 1 to 10, how worried are you?
I'm not worried at all. I mean, I wouldn't say it's
0.
10. Well, I would say probably somewhere in the 2 to 3 range. Look, we don't know what we're going to get with Isaiah Seville. I mean, we just don't. We've never seen him. But this is a team that has a lot of really good young goalies. Seville just happens to be the right man in the right place, because I think the guy that they're really high on is Jesper Vikman, but he's injured. And I think he's going back to Sweden to play for Sweden in
The juniors.
The juniors. So, he's unavailable. But I think they'll be fine. I really do. I like what I've seen from Patera. And what I like about Patera is he's a confident kid. Like, he plays with a lot of confidence. And you could see it when he's on the ice. You could see it in interviews that the kid is very confident in his ability. Seville, I've spoken to him once. Actually, I think I talked to him twice. He wasn't, because he was drafted the same year as Korczak and Peyton Krebs in that 2019 draft.
And he was a fifth, right?
Yeah, he was a fifth. He was not, I don't believe he was there in Vancouver, but I talked to him at development camp a couple times. And, he's also played for the United States junior team, so he's a guy who, for a young kid, and he's from Anchorage, right? He's from Alaska. Not that that means shit, but it's kind of cool that you have a kid from Alaska, a lefty goalie, with who from at all levels has played really well. And I thought it was a bit telling in the presser the other night when Bruce mentioned that Seville played really well for Henderson, I guess the game before or the night before. So I think the organization has a lot of confidence in both of these kids. I think, look, no team wants to play their AHL goalies, but I feel if there's any team in the league that is equipped to handle this type of adversity, it's the Golden Knights, just because they have so many leaders in that locker room and so many guys who've won. I mean, obviously every guy has won, but you have guys who've won multiple cups in that locker room, guys who have been all-stars, guys who have been captains of other teams. So I think if there's a team that's equipped to handle it, it's the Golden Knights. I mean, look, we saw Tampa struggle without Vasilevsky. I don't think the Golden Knights are going to go through a struggle like what we saw Tampa go through.
I think that my concern level is probably in the high 4s to mid 5s. And I think it's based on not the goalies. I think it's based on the play of the club. These kids in a perfect world, and I'll give you the time loop sort of comparison. If the Golden Knights were playing the way they were playing down the stretch and into the playoffs last year, in front of Patera, Isaiah Seville, Lindsey Brown, Chris Chapman, and my concern level would be 0. But they're not. They're giving up boatloads of power play goals. They're not defending as well. They're having mental lapses. They're checking out for stretches of games, and games are getting away from them. And that, what's the right word? That makes it more difficult to hide a young, inexperienced goalie. And if they right the ship in front of them, my concern level goes, way down 1-0. It's not even really worth talking about on an episode anymore. But if they don't pull their heads out of their asses and start playing 60-minute Vegas Golden Knight hockey game, those kids are going to get shellacked.
Yeah.
And
that does fuck with their confidence.
And if those kids get shellacked, it might take a while to rebuild their ability to get back up at a later date. So I have another question. I would like you to put on your "Hi, I'm Kelly McCrimmon, general manager of the Golden Knights" hat. If this turns bad, how long do you wait before you start looking at making a move?
Well,
Specifically in goal.
yeah. Well, I think they may need some third line help. But as far as the goalie position, I think, as you mentioned, the goalies are only going to be as good as the guys in front of them. Like if the Golden Knights play bad, it's going to be very like I don't think Yuri Patero or Isaiah Seville will be terrible and go out and lose games for the Golden Knights. That's not my worry. But I think to your point, if they play like they've been playing, it's going to be struggle for Seville and Patera, because I don't know if they're good enough yet for them to go out and win games for the Golden Knights. Like I don't know if we're going to get, the Charlie Lindgren type performance from
Minnesota.
Young
Charlie Lindgren from Minnesota.
Yes, that's why I mentioned him. Shout out to Lindsey. And whatever goalie camp he went to that she went to as well.
Stauber something or other.
Yeah, Staubers. Yes, that's the one I think. But I think if things look, if you go on a stretch where you just aren't playing well, I think you have to consider it. But the main consideration has to be on how long Logan Thompson is going to be out. I think you and I can realistically say it's going to be a while before we see Adin Hill again.
It certainly feels that way.
So you've got Logan Thompson, and then you've got a cast of really young, inexperienced goalies. I think if Thompson's going to be out for a while, I think you give these guys an opportunity to prove that they can play at this level. But if you get to a stretch where you're losing, 2 out of 3 games or 3 out of 7 or whatever, maybe that's. I think maybe at that point you look at your options. I mean, it's a really difficult situation because obviously if Adin Hill is out for 3 months
extended,
yeah, if you don't have him back till March. And Logan Thompson is out for, let's say, a month, which is I'm just throwing that out.
Yeah.
Like I don't have any information on how long the guy is going to be out. But if Seville and Patera, if they're just not good, you have to realistically look at it. Because Logan Thompson can't play every night. And I'm not saying go out and trade for a really good backup, but maybe you kick the tires on a guy like Yaroslav Halak, who knows Bruce Cassidy's system. I mean, he's out there, and maybe there's a reason why he's out there. But I on our show the other day, someone mentioned Jonathan Quick, and it's like that's not happening. The Rangers aren't going to give up Jonathan Quick. He specifically left to go. Well, I mean, he didn't have a ton of options. Not like he had the option to come back here, but the Rangers are his hometown team, and he's backing up maybe the best goalie in the NHL
in the world.
So, yeah, so that's not going to happen. So forget that. Jonathan Quick is not coming back. But
what about that guy in Minnesota? No. Ryan lost his shit on a caller. Oh no, it was incredible. Do you listen to the post game on the way home?
When I can, yeah. I didn't hear that, but Ryan.
I rolled down my windows and I was laughing like a retarded person. And I know you're not supposed to make fun of retarded people and laughing, but Ryan, who is normally a super composed, really down the line cat in the way he handles his business on the pregame and the intermissions and the post games, literally came fucking unglued. I think the caller's name was Giorgio or something like that.
Georgie. Yes,
Georgie or George. Yeah, something. And I couldn't see Ryan, obviously, but I could see Ryan picking up the microphone, taking it off the mic stand, walking around, stomping his feet, losing his fucking mind.
Yeah. Listen,
I just wanted to add that because it was really funny, and you should listen to the post-game show because You know, he has a rat pack of retards sometimes calling him after the show that rival Howard Stern's people. But anyway, so no, Marc-Andre Fleury's not coming back. The savior.
That would be maybe the worst move this franchise could make. You don't want that drama.
I know.
You don't want.
I know.
You don't want.
I was
Logan
just being
Thompson.
facetious.
No, I know you are, but for the fans who think that that's an option,
no,
you don't want Logan Thompson looking over his shoulder every time he gives up a bad goal. You don't want here's the biggest thing. You don't want the fans to turn on whoever's in net because they think Fleury is still a Vezina caliber goalie.
They turned on him just when they started to talk about his name. Yeah. They immediately said, okay, let's trade LT.
Look at the way some of the fans turned on Robin Leonard, which was total bullshit. You know, undeserved, ridiculous. Look, I love Marc-Andre Fleury. I used to love interacting with him. I used to love talking to him post-game during, after practices. I got along really well with the guy. But at the end of the day, you don't win Stanley Cups by being sentimental. And the idea of the sentimental bullshit of bringing him back, if anything, that divides the fans. It probably divides the locker room because there's probably guys who would be loyal to him. It's just
all the Quebeckies.
Yeah, it's just not worth the bullshit. So
okay, that was just my shameless attempt to fill 2 or 3 minutes with something that's absolutely not going to happen.
Listen, I'm not going to go Ryan, but the idea is preposterous. It's fucking preposterous.
But let
flush
me
that down the toilet like the Carolina game. Flush it down with the Carolina game because it belongs at the bottom of Lake Mead or wherever our wastewater goes.
Let me put something out there that might not be as ludicrous. Aiden Hill goes on LTIR and he's done for the year. $5 million of cap space becomes available. Which team in the NHL has number one goalies that are both going to be free agents that they're going to be forced to move one at the end of this year?
Well, I don't know if the Bruins fit
that. That's it. Stop. That's it. You're right there.
Yeah, because Ullmark and Swayman are both number one goalies.
And they're both coming up for big raises.
Yeah. I liked Ullmark from his days in Buffalo. But look, you've got two goalies who are capable of playing. The question is, what would it take from Boston or for Boston to be able to move one of those guys? And here's the other one that I'll throw out there. I don't know what his contract situation is, and maybe I should look before I even mention his name. But there's a guy who plays 3.5 hours away down I-15 in Orange County who is priming to have a playoff run.
The $6 million man, John Gibson?
I don't think that's an option because I just don't think his contract status would allow it.
Right.
But, in fact, my team, the Devils, I wish they would go out and maybe make a move for him, although I think the Devils have bigger problems in goalie right now. But I don't know. The thing is, there's not a ton out there as far as who would be available, right? Like you'd have to start going through your list of backup goalies. And I think Detroit maybe has a couple of guys, like
but they're all hurt.
And they're all under contract for term, right? Like Ville Husso still has a couple more years on his deal.
Yeah.
So the options are extremely limited. You'd probably would have to go the free agent route. And how long is it going to take a 38-year-old Yaroslav Halak to get into game shape? So I almost feel like you're going to have to weather this storm with what you've got if you're the Golden Knights, A, because you may not have any option, but B, you don't know how long these guys are. I mean, I think the team has an idea, but you just don't know like what's going to be available because I just don't feel like there's a ton out there. I mean, who there's probably capable guys in the Pacific, right? Like maybe, but Edmonton's not going to make a move for Jack Campbell with you.
No.
I mean, they've
none of that. None of that. I mean, Dan
and
Vladar
would
in
you want
Calgary.
Jack Campbell? That's the other thing.
No.
Do you want him?
Okay,
Calgary's not gonna say, "Oh yeah," I mean,
let's
again,
help the Golden Knights.
I could look it up and see, what goalies are going into their free agent year, but like I just don't know like who would be available, free agent wise.
Okay, so aside from the Golden Knights' propensity for shiny things, if you were a gambling man, are they going to make a move in net? Or did they bank enough points early in the year that they can ride it out? And to your point earlier, it doesn't really matter if they win the division or the West.
My gut feeling says that they do not make a move. By the way, the goalies who are entering free agency next year are Matt Murray. I don't think the Leafs would trade him. Peter Mrazek. I don't know if you'd want Peter Mrazek.
No.
Samsonov, who I don't know if you want him either.
In Toronto, Samsonov?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, he's 27, but he hasn't really been good.
No, he has not.
3.79 goals against, 0.871 save percentage, $3.5 million cap hit. The one that kind of jumps out at me, if I'm looking at a guy who maybe, if you're going to kick the tires on, and this is a team that the Golden Knights have made moves with before, despite the fact that they are a division rival, but Kaapo Kähkönen is entering a free agent year. He's still only 27, and I think he's a guy who he was decent in Minnesota. I think Lindsey would probably be a better authority on his play than me, but he's a guy who, look, if this is a long-term situation for the Golden Knights, he's a low enough cap hit, only $2.75 million against the cap, and when you accumulate it, it's only $1.6 million against the cap this year. He's still an option. I mean, San Jose certainly would love the draft capital. I don't think it would take a whole lot to get him away from the Sharks. Yeah. So I think if you're going to go that route, that's an option. I think it would be a much cheaper option than going for Jeremy Swayman. But I think the Bruins like Swayman more than Ullmark. So I think Ullmark would ultimately be the guy that's shipped out, not Swayman.
Okay, that was a fun trip down speculation row.
I enjoy that. I like to put my GM hat on, which is why I'll never be a GM, because I have zero ability to get these things right. So
the Golden Knights are 21-8-5, 47 points, tied for the Pacific Division Western Conference and NHL lead with the Vancouver Canucks. They've also played the most games, but there's now 4 or 5 teams that have sort of joined that race.
Vancouver being one. Yeah.
Tomorrow, I think, is a pretty critical game for the Golden Knights. I think it's critical for their psyche. They have shown a propensity to get up for big, important games. And like you so eloquently stated earlier, Florida's going to come out trying to kick their fucking ass. Yes. Up and down that building. And I was at the building for the finals last year. That's going to be a rowdy building. Now, that being said, if the Golden Knights come out and hang 2 on in the first period, that building is going to be quieter than a closed church on Saturday afternoon, because their fans are the biggest turncoats in the NHL. But they need to get to, in my opinion, they've got to get through the Winter Classic with the wheels securely on the bus. If things go really shitty for them, they have 1, 2, 3, 4 games before the end of the year They got to tighten up the ship. They have some work to do. They have some mirrors to look in and say, this is not acceptable Vegas Golden Knights hockey. And they need to get back to it because they need to protect if they're indeed not going to make a move, and they certainly aren't going to make a move anytime soon unless really bad news comes on Aiden Hill, in the next week or so.
Yeah.
Like you said,
the league, they have the holiday period where there's no trades and stuff,
which is closed. Yeah, it's closed now.
Don't expect anything to happen in the next couple of days if they were to make a move. Look, I think we just got to wait and see with Logan Thompson. Like we've mentioned it, you and I, we expect Aiden Hill to be out a while, but the Logan Thompson news is what's ultimately going to be, I think, the telltale sign for the Golden Knights.
No, I agree 100%. All right, next up, high noon puck drop Saturday against the Florida Panthers, and then back finally at the Fortress for the Ducks on Wednesday the 27th, the Kings on the 28th, and then the Winter Classic. Thanks to the NHL for not confirming my credentials. I never heard back from them. I feel like the proverbial stripper left on the pole at 2 a.m. I was kind of hoping to go to Seattle, but that's for another episode. Anyway, that's going to wrap up episode 64 of Hockey Nights in Vegas, brought to you as always by the Las Vegas Advisor, www.lasvegasadvisor.com, your home for any information you need about Las Vegas, restaurant trips, tips, entertainment, show tips, strip club tips, gambling tips. They have an unbelievable staff of professional gamblers who will give you the best chance at making money if you decide that you want to partake while you visit here in Sin City. And by Dr. John Pierce at agelessforever.net, www.agelessforever.net. If you want to have a doctor who truly, genuinely cares about you, who you'll see on every visit, you won't get passed off to some PA or some people you've never seen before, who will read your chart and will do the workups and make you the best you can be. Look up my good friend, Dr. John Pierce at www.agelessforever.net. This will be the last episode, so before Christmas. So Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. Merry, happy holidays to all of you. Thank you for your loyalty in listening and supporting. You'll see the subscribe button down across the bottom. Like our episodes, comment on our episodes. We've got some really good feedback. We're going to be breaking out some new interesting stuff for you after the new year, once we figure out the tech of it, so we can be in front of you a lot more often. But be safe. Have a great holiday season, and we will see you again soon. Have a great day. We're out of here.